Okay, let's get straight into this today. I'm Richard Midson, and this is the Public Relations Podcast, and you can find me on LinkedIn, as always, by searching for MIDSON. Now, the PR Agency Insight Survey 2025 came out the other day in one of the world's largest PR markets. And once again, we get a picture of how agencies and the comms world as a whole is sometimes not moving, but sometimes moving very rapidly. So what did it tell us, and what can you learn from it wherever you are in the world? Well, to discuss this with me, Komal from Toot Consult in Mumbai and Tarunjeet from Nucleus PR in Bangalore. A huge good morning to you both. Komal, you are a friend of the show. You've been on multiple times, but you better tell everyone again who you are, a little bit about you, and where they can find you as well.
Thank you, Richard, for always having me and thinking of me on the show.
You are always welcome.
My name's Komal. That's where you can find me on LinkedIn. That's KOMALNATH. I run a communications advisory firm called Toot Consult. We work across different verticals in communication, and PR is integral to it.
And Tarunjeet, please introduce yourself.
I'm Tarunjeet. I run a boutique PR firm called Nucleus PR. We are a reputation advisory firm based out of Bangalore. And you can look me up on LinkedIn and understand all that we do.
I can't think of two better people to discuss this, because you are both really at the heart of the industry there. So, I mean, let's cover some of these points. I think there are 5 main points that I pulled out. And the first one that really struck me is one that I think we keep seeing come up again and again. People keep saying this, and this is about how clients and bosses and organizations are often stuck in a bit of a PR time warp. Now, the report actually said, and I'll quote from the report, or a paraphrase from it at least, most clients still see PR as a simple media coverage, and I mean, kind of like just like 30, 40 years ago. And the impact on that is that people don't appreciate what modern PR can do. So we've got this disconnect that is what PR agencies are capable of doing today, of educating people about different issues and different topics. And then we've got the whole issue of organizations not understanding what it's capable of. So reputation management, digital engagement, thought leadership, aligning perceptions and things like that. So the first question is this what you're seeing as well? This is what the report said, but is this what you're seeing as well? Is that people have just not caught up with modern PR is capable of? I mean, let's start with you, Tarunjeet.
Let's go by the introduction that Komal and me actually did when, we introduced our agency. She called her agency a communication consultancy, and I called myself a reputation advisory. Right? There you have it. We don't call ourselves PR firms anymore. Hence that entire distinction of trying to, I think give PR an entire rebrand itself. But first off, I want to thank you for picking up our independent annual survey for this discussion. When Shashank, Nanda and I started to create this, we wanted to present an unfiltered view of the entire industry status. However brutally honest it was, however difficult it was for us as agency owners as well to kind of digest some of the findings that came across, but we wanted to be able to present a completely unfiltered view of the entire industry, and it's thrown up some very interesting.
It's so important, though, isn't it? Is that we've got to look at it honestly, because this is the problem. I think some people still think I'm a PR agency. Well, I think I mentioned it in the podcast the other day. Someone on Reddit was just saying, well, it's not my job as a PR agency to convince people the value of PR. And it's like, this is just so out of date. I mean, Komal, one of the things I remember us talking about the first time was you said how you'd kind of rebranded yourself as integrated marketing, as Marcoms now. How much of an impact do you think that's had?
I yet have to re-explain myself, I'll be honest, to a lot of people, because it was a very conscious decision to drop the word only PR, right? And like I mentioned on the show earlier, I think the word public relations needs a public relations campaign by itself, right? We cannot be talking to the same audience because the rules of engagement are changed, the rules of understanding are changed. And if only this report ascertains that in very hard facts and lines. So I think there's a lot of work yet left on it. It's such an integral part of the entire marketing services. But the perception of it is yet very, very dated. And I think it's to do with the fear of change more than anything else, or justifying that, hey, what am I going to do in this job if I can't measure it? So, the multiple black holes here that we're navigating is just not what I feel.
So do you think the problem here is the agencies, or is it the organizations who are employing the agencies? Where's it, or is it both? I mean, Tarunjeet, you can't.
I would say it's both. For us, the work, the responsibility, and the weight of the strategic seat at the table have grown exponentially. And yet, when it comes to proving ROI, we are still shackled by, dare I say it, AVEs. The CEOs value our work, but we are left justifying it to CFOs who see PR as an expense rather than an investment. And we are reduced to counting clips, measuring, some metrics, some invented metrics or some imagined metrics out there, trying to justify our worth because we got to pay our bills. I think it's time for a fundamental shift. PR should sit in the CEO's office, not in a marketing. And that one move that I'm very certain, and I've seen this happen, especially in the startup domain, when we look at doing this, that one move could change the game. It could align expectations. It could, change perceptions and help us.
And that would be what?
Sorry?
What would that move be, do you think? What's that thing going to happen?
The PR team, the comms team should start reporting into the CEO or the founder's office directly. It should not be reporting to the marketing team.
How do you get that to happen, though? Because I was having a chat with someone in Singapore this morning who was talking about the tension between marketing and PR. There's still very much a sense in marketing of like PR there, those people over there, and PR people feel like they're not really welcome. So there's still this tension. Whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter. Whether it makes business sense, if that's a human issue, then that's a problem that has to be overcome. So how do you get in to talking direct to the CEO?
So I would say, it requires a certain I think it requires a certain amount, a kind of vertical to be able to start this. And startups are the great place to start this entire trend in. They've always been the trendsetters. And with startups, it's easier for you to kind of, let them know that this is how it needs to be aligned. I think a PR professional or a comms professional who's working with them, they have a higher chance of success in a startup versus an already established hierarchy that has been created with marketing, sales, PR, Copcom, publicity. I think it's been, dissected into various other verticals as well. Internal comms, external comms, publicity, corporate communication. It's very confusing the higher you go up in larger organizations. So I think it needs to start at the startup level where create a proof of concept as such, and then take that to various verticals and tell them, hey, if it's successful here, there's no reason why it can't succeed in another vertical of a different size.
So if you're walking into a startup, if someone came to you tomorrow and said, we're a startup and we need your help on this, but you're just going to be part of marketing, what would you say to them?
That's nice that I get to be part of marketing, but I need the CEO's buy-in and I need the CEO's time. And he or she needs to consult directly with me on issues that are related to comms. Everything that is related to comms. And I see
Yeah, I guess the other question
there's a little bit of a lag.
Sorry, please.
And I've always seen that work when you say it with conviction and you say it with confidence.
Komal, I guess the other question that strikes me here is, what is modern PR? You're someone who's gone and discovered this because you've adapted to what the world is now. So if I came to you completely naively, and let's assume there's a lot of people listening to this who might find someone that comes to them and says, well, I'm interested in PR, but I don't really get it. What are you saying to them now? What is 2025 PR compared to 1980?
I think it's a great question, Richard. And there's so many things you can say, and there's just that one line you can say, right, to this entire piece. And I'm in agreement with Tarun on so many ways that we need to bundle it directly, and that entire founder's office thing changes. We've done that for a couple of clients, some case studies that we've discussed, like Minimalist also on your podcast earlier. It's a revolution on when we directly work with the founders. It's a game changer. So to me, if I have to explain modern PR today, it is about that messaging function that makes you look good or builds your reputation, period. I think everything else is layered up or layered down, but it's really, really advising you on your amplification to make you look good or be heard right. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that would be a single line, my single pickup line, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because then you've got the ROI, you've got all the branding, what actually is. I mean, this is the other challenge, isn't it? It's ROI. All the CMOs are saying, look, give me figures. And, one thing that you and I have spoken about before, Komal, is this sort of hybrid approach of mixing paid advertising with PR, so that at least then you've got a kind of an integrated, clear figure. You can say, well, we did PR, we boosted it with advertising, we've got some figures we can give you. And then they're more likely to buy into the whole concept of storytelling-based marketing.
That's true. And I think, there was one point where I contemplated that, and I've had those discussions with Tarunjeet on the site so many times as a sidebar, that So we go the lawyer route of charging by the hour because it's consultancy. It's a lot of legwork before you see that one story or that one paid message as well. So who's accounting for the servicing hours done there? Why is that taken for granted? Whereas if you're part of the consulting route, like, the big four names that we all know, you are charged by the hour for putting together slides, which of course is deep rooted, but hey, we're also doing something similar. Maybe the nature is different. So I think the perception value is just that somebody's written that, hey, this is how it needs to be done. This function needs to be paid this much. And please measure outcomes, not the entire value proposition. There is a sea shift because I think now people value the work on how they are looked at because the avenues are so many, right? You also need somebody smart to be able to pick what to do when in which channel. And that's not easy without experience. So I think we are on an advantageous cusp. It can go either way, but it has to be rallied together. It cannot be done just by a Tarun or just me or those independent agencies coming together.
Yeah.
I think that's one unified umbrella voice that, hey, this is the charter and it belongs to all.
Yeah, I think this is something we'll come back to if we get time at the end, which is about organizations and joining industry bodies as well. Let's move on to the next point, though, because I have a horrible feeling we're going to go on way too long here. So let's move on with this one. 98% of people in agencies use AI in one way or another. This includes brainstorming and idea creation for story pitches, campaign ideas, etc., and for research, in addition to content creation. Roughly 74% of respondents have content responsibilities. Of those, 80% use AI for content creation. Roughly half of those without content responsibilities depend on AI for their content needs anyway. Despite this, 67% fear the erosion of creativity and 73% the lack of human touch. Now, if you didn't get all those figures, don't worry about it. What we're really interested in here is what is the impact of AI and where is it going to go? I suppose the question here is, to put it bluntly, is how important is human creativity anymore? If AI can do so much, we can't sweep it under the carpet. It really can do a lot. But how important is human creativity? Let's start with you, Komal.
I think that's at the heart of everything. And instead of, I think human creativity will get you the driver's seat. Everything else AI is getting you is on the passenger seat. You need somebody to drive it, right? It's a brilliant tool to be able to brainstorm. So if I'm looking at a client idea and I'm stuck, I'd be like, if it's a manufacturing sector, I'd be like, hey, pull out 5 trends for me that are being written about in from A frame to time frame and, assist us on what people are interested in. AI is that tool. But how do you fit your client in is human ingenuity.
It's execution that feels to me is that AI can come up with a lot. I find it really useful for brainstorming. It doesn't necessarily come up with a good idea, but it provokes a lot of thoughts in your head. But ultimately, it's about delivery, isn't it? And that's where I think the limitation comes. What do you think, Tarunjeet?
I'd like to kind of, add my inputs to the earlier question. You remember when Google was launched? It was some 20, 25 years ago. And I just amazed me that a lot of people around me didn't get the right answers from Google. And I couldn't for the life of me imagine why. Till I figured out they weren't asking the right questions. End of the day, it's just a treasure trove of information. All you have to do is ask the right question to get the right answers. Cut to today, ChatGPT, same thing. All the AI tools that we have, if we don't ask the right questions, we don't get the right answers to it. When this launched, I remember very quickly a lot of writers, a lot of comms team, a lot of people who were looking at writing with words, a lot of creative people, right, lost their jobs almost overnight. And it took clients some time, and it took brands some time to be able to realize that, hey, we can't do it alone because we don't know what the questions are. We don't know what questions to ask. So context, relevance, I think is very essential. And that comes from human creativity. And today, the God is going to be in details. We have to be able to understand what are the details of execution that we need to put out there. You can ask ChatGPT to create a fantastic, article for you. How would you judge whether the article is good or bad? If you don't yourself know or understand writing,